Alright, hi everyone. Welcome to my little training session with Hope. This is going to have two exercises in it. One is yielding the hindquarters and working on a circle at liberty, and then the other one is lowering the head and bridling. So here I'm sending her forward by pointing my finger, and then the secondary aid is the whip with the ball on the end. I started off with liberty this time. I switch it up. Sometimes I do it last. Basically, I'm asking for that change of direction with her facing me rather than showing her butt to me. So that's very nice. I do like it at the walk. It can be done at the trot, which I have done. This is very relaxed. So here we are at the trot, finishing up our little session here. I'm asking her to stop and look at me. And then by disengaging the whip and backing up, I am inviting her in. She gets a treat. So here I'm doing the yielding the hindquarters at liberty, which is a little bit more tricky for the horse as the lead rope isn't there to provide clues with the head. But she's done a pretty good job. I put my hand right where the leg would be and then enhance that with the whip tapping on her hindquarter. I'm looking for 2 or 3 steps before I relieve the pressure because we have done this quite a bit already. So there was a bit too high, and I didn't like how that made her tail go, so I like to keep the whip low, and that was a mistake on my part, but she did good. She's a very forgiving horse. Here we're doing the other side. She's a little stickier on this side. There it finally goes. So we're looking for that inside hind to cross over the outside. That's like step 1 of groundwork. And then here we've switched to the head down. So we have 2 activities. One is movement and one is standing still. I put a little, not tons of pressure, but constant pressure on her pole and on her lead rope while I'm rewarding. The treats are in my pocket, which is causing some problems here because she just wants to rub her face in my pants. I'm trying not to let her do that. That's ideally where I want her head to be. If she comes back out, I just ask the exact same way. And this, I think she has done before. I'm not the first person to bridle her or saddle her or anything like that. I've come to her sort of just assuming for myself that she's not been handled and what I would do with a unhandled horse, but she's obviously had quite a lot of handling and is pretty good about this. And then here I've knelt down to kind of stay in her space and help her understand that it's also a good thing if I'm around her when her head is on the ground. So here I'm not holding her down at all. She's staying down, which is very nice. So then here we start the movement exercise again, which is the yield of the hindquarters with the lead rope. So you can see the lead rope is commanding her attention a bit more because it's attached to her head, and I can kind of jiggle it when I want her to pay attention. And I jiggle the lead rope at her hind end, both where the leg is and towards her bum, to get that nice 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. So I prefer a bit less walking forward, but that's just fine. There, like that. And then to the other side. And that was pretty much instant. I didn't even have to touch her for her to do that. So that's the kind of thing, if your horse does something like that, exactly what you're asking, it's pretty much, you can reinforce it by doing it the other side, but that would have been a good spot to end that exercise. Guess I'm doing it a bit more. So here I've gotten ready for the side pass, where I'm asking for forward movement while going over on her shoulders. So I curl her neck around and I ask right at the girth to go forward and to cross over her front legs. And of course her hind end. So then I'll disengage her by just asking her to lead forward, and then I set her up by making her come around to my body and have my body at her girth. And then I ask again. The lead rope has her going forward and sideways. That was super good. So I started off developing this along a straight fence so that she knew to go sideways rather than just forward. So this helps the horse understand that leg on doesn't necessarily mean go forward. It also means this lateral movement. So this is really, really, really good for her. Shake my hand or go forward. She's kind of backing up right now. I don't want that. I want that leg, yes, to come forward like she has done there. So she went from going backwards and sideways to just sideways, and that's what I want. So here I want her to ground tie, which I think is essential for every horse. I try and get her to do it about 4 to 5 times per session we have. So what I do is I set her up standing and then go back to her shoulder and disengage myself from her shoulder so that she doesn't want to come forward and follow me. Something about the shoulder, she understands that if I go there and disengage from there, she knows not to follow me or that something else is happening. So here we have the bridle, and in this series of events I do make some mistakes. This is my first time working with a horse like this that hasn't already been bridled 1,000 times. So I start off by asking her for her head down and raising up the rein to go over her head. So the first thing that I could have done is spent a lot more time working with that rein going over over her head, and me having my arms up and putting stuff around over her head. So I kind of took a shortcut here, asking her to lower her head and then keep it lowered as I put that rein around. So she did move away from me, and that's the kind of stuff I would like to cut out by just spending more time at each step. I think she's smart enough to know that if she puts her head down, I'm going to give her some time. So it was a bit of an evasion to put that down to the ground. But because she's just learning, it's fine right now. That is what I was asking and rewarding her for. So obviously, I'm going to let her do that and process what's going on. So her head's up here, and I've got the rein over her pole, and I'm pulling down right where my hand is when I have the lead rope. She is definitely a lot more tense with the bridle. So I make some mistakes here too. That bit should be underneath her chin as my hand is above her ears with the bridle. So I have trouble setting it up for success in her mouth because she can just pull away and then I've lost my position. So here I think, oh, okay, I've got to reset here. Bring her head back down. Come underneath. So here I'm coming underneath her chin or trying to set it up. So this is another mistake I made. I followed her head instead of bringing her head around towards me. So her head is curved all the way to the right where she should be curled into the left towards me as I'm bridling her. But here I've gotten the bit in. I'm messing with her ears. And she's kept her head nice and low, which is great. So only keep it in for a couple seconds. And then let her spit it out. And then with the halter, I'm just gonna halter her regularly. I'm not gonna ask for her head down because she did really good, and so I don't need to add pressure every single time. But what I do like to do is, because she'll always back up away from me if I pick up the halter, I ask her to come towards me and I give her a treat for that. This will help if she's ever hard to catch. And yeah, so thanks for watching. I know it was very long and probably quite uneventful, but this is great practice for when I have my own horse, a 2-year-old, so I'm really enjoying Hope. I think she's a great little pony.